Hi, my name is David Lindover, and I'm your host for today's episode of Return on Insights podcast. Today I'm joined by Damodar Sahu. He's the co-founder and chief growth officer of Data Safeguard. Damodar and his team are doing incredible work using AI to protect personal data and fight synthetic fraud around the world. You know, data privacy isn't just about following regulations anymore. It's a fundamental human right that protects our freedom, dignity, and democracy. In today's conversation, we're going to explore why companies need to go beyond just checking boxes and instead put people first when it comes to privacy and ethical AI use. Damodar's deep expertise and passion make him a vital voice in this important conversation. I'm very happy and proud to welcome Damodar to today's show. Welcome.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me here.
We're going to move forward. I've got a bunch of questions I want to ask you, Damodar. I'm excited for your answers. So first off, how can enterprises reframe data privacy as a fundamental human right rather than just a regulatory check-the-box requirement?
Great question, David, and thank you very much for having me here. And we are covering a nice topic. It's very close to my heart. Data privacy is a human rights, the true cost of data breaches, and the role of AI. Just to answer, to me, privacy is not just a legal checkbox. It is about respecting the essence of being human. When we treat privacy merely as a compliance exercise, we reduce people to rows in a database. But when we reframe it as a human right, we recognize that behind every data point is a person with emotions, dignity, and aspirations. Enterprises must understand that data privacy is deeply tied to trust. Customers share their personal information with an expectation of respect. By protecting that data, and companies are not just meeting a law, they are honoring a person's freedom, dignity, and right to autonomy. That's the mindset shift needed, David.
Very well said, Damodar. What are the broader social and human impacts of data breaches? We've all experienced them, I'm sure. And beyond the financial and reputational loss, what does it mean from a human and social perspective?
Most people think of data breaches in terms of fines, lawsuits, and stock dips. But the real cost is human. Imagine a family whose identity was stolen, children's social security numbers misused, elderly parents trick into some scams like digital arrest, digital scam, medical records of leak leading to denial of insurance for others. And these are just incidents, but they are life-altering crises. On a social level, data breaches erode collective trust. If communities stop trusting digital systems like banks, hospital, government, healthcare, right? It slows the progress as a whole and deepens inequality. The invisible burden is often carried by the most vulnerable, children, seniors, and those with limited digital literacy.
So how does protecting the personal data uphold democratic values and individual dignity?
Great question. Democracy thrives on freedom of thought, choice, and expression. We all know that, right? If citizens feel constantly surveilled or fear misuse of their information, they self-censor. That undermines democracy at its core. So protecting personal data safeguards dignity by ensuring that people are not reduced to mere consumer profiles or manipulated through algorithms. It ensures that individuals remain in control of their identity, their voices, and their choices. So privacy is not just about security. It's about preserving the integrity of democracy itself, David.
Can you share some examples of the ripple effects from these data breaches on individuals and communities? You shared one earlier. Do you have another example?
Sure, absolutely. As you know, data breaches are often the doors to synthetic fraud, where stolen, fragmented or personal information are stitched together to increase fake identities. These synthetic identities are often used to control large scale of financial crimes, such as fraudulent loans or credit card scams. For example, a single data breach exposing social security numbers and addresses can fuel an entire network of fake accounts, trailing millions from financial organizations or institutions or government and eroding public trust. Collectively, synthetic fraud and it is resulting the financial crime are estimated to the cost of global economy over 3 trillion US dollar every year. One striking example is coming to my mind is from healthcare. When patient records are exposed or compromised, it is not just a alter of stolen names. It can lead to medical identity theft. Imagine showing up you are showing to a hospital or showing up to a hospital and discovering your records are altered or a life-saving care delayed because someone else used your identity for treatments, right? In communities, a single breach at a local bank or municipality or a healthcare can trigger widespread fear. People may withdraw from the online systems or business lose customers and the community struggle to rebuild trust. It is like a digital earthquake, right? So the aftershocks are felt long after the initial breach. So it is huge. Data breach leading to synthetic fraud leading to no financial crime.
I wonder how many people feel as I do, as helpless. And
Yeah.
there's been so many times when I've opened that letter, from a corporation that I do business with, personally and professionally, and it's like, your data has been compromised.
Yeah.
Not much we can do about it. It's gone. We'll give you some, free service to make sure your credit rating isn't affected, and on to the next letter, right? And it's almost as though you put your hands up in the air and you have to trust the systems, right? At some point that will, be remediated somehow, somewhere down the line, and you won't be the subject of some of these disastrous situations that you've mentioned. So I feel the pain. I definitely do.
Yeah.
So in what ways can AI help and hinder privacy and fairness in data management?
Oh, another great question, David. So AI is a double-edged sword. In one side, AI is very powerful ally. It can detect anomalies, redact sensitive information at scale, so that even the data breach happens, if all our personal sensitive informations like PII, PHI, PFI, sensitive, non-sensitive informations are redacted before the data breach happens, then the data will be of no use to them. It can predict fraud. I'm talking about the good side of the AI. It can predict fraud patterns with incredibly accuracy. At Data Safeguard, we use AI, that is our patented technology, to safeguard PII, PHI or PFI, sensitive, non-sensitive information, and fight synthetic fraud that traditional system could never catch, right? But on the other side, if not design responsible AI or ethical AI or not supervised AI can magnify bias, exploit personal data, and make decisions that are opaque and unfair. The question is not whether to use AI, it's how to use it responsibly with guardrails that put humans' rights first. So that's why we will call it responsible and ethical AI and the supervised AI, right?
Yeah, very true. So why is checkbox compliance, the mentality of checkbox compliance, insufficient for addressing these really complex challenges that are posed by privacy and AI today?
Because checkboxes do not inspire trust, but people do. A compliance only approach means you are doing the bare minimum to avoid penalties. But privacy is dynamic technology, it evolves, and threat evolves, we do know that. And the cyber criminals are very active these days, and laws often lag behind, right? Lag behind. If enterprises limit themselves to compliance, they will always be reactive, right? They won't be proactive. So one step behind they will be. So a true privacy first culture requires proactive commitment. Like, how would I feel if this was my data, right? If I put myself, let's say enterprise or the people, if they can put themselves on the patients or maybe consumers, right, side, and they definitely feel that empathy. So that empathy leads to resilience, not just compliance. If everybody think about, okay, this is not just a compliance or checkbox, it's a responsibility, right? It's privacy, it's a human dignity, right? Then I think we will have a wonderful world, and we will have very negligible or maybe zero fraud. Yeah.
So, what practical steps can organizations, big companies, take to adopt a people-first approach to privacy, security, and ethical AI use? In
There
your
are a couple
opinion?
of no, thank you for asking this. Let's say, if I can put it, let's say one, two, three. Let's say embed empathy in design or privacy in design. That means build system with privacy by design, asking at every stage, how will this impact the end user's dignity and trust? End user is you and me, consumers, right? Then second is transparency and education. Be open with customers about how their data is being used, stored, right? And empower them to make choices, right? Like the consent, consent management, preference management, right? And trust grows in the light. We all know that, right? Then third is accountability. Appoint leaders like data protection officer, chief privacy officer, chief compliance officer, chief risk officer, right? Appoint leaders who are responsible not just for compliance but for protecting human rights through data stewardship. So organizations that get this right from the day one will not only avoid risks, they will create lasting competitive advantage, and that will really help the privacy enable business to all the organizations. Those are focusing on privacy by design, and privacy is the core, and privacy is the every DNA of their employees and departments.
I totally agree with that message. Having trust in the companies that we work with is a huge competitive advantage, differentiator for those companies that take it seriously. And I notice, to be fair, more and more large companies are taking this seriously and being accountable and transparent and communicative of the situation within their companies. So I just want to paint a more positive picture. Finally, how can enterprises ensure that their AI systems respect the privacy and don't perpetuate bias or inequality? This comes up in many of my podcasts.
Absolutely. So I can say it starts with intention, that to good intention. AI must be trained on diverse, representative datasets, and organizations must audit their algorithm for bias continuously. It's not one time. They should actually monitor and audit their algorithm for bias continuously. It's a regular process. Ethics by design, privacy by design is very, very important. Both ethics by design as important as privacy by design, I can say. At data safeguard, for instance, we focus on explainability, supervisory, ensuring decision made by AI can be understood and challenged by humans. Enterprises must also adopt governance frameworks where fairness, accountability, and transparency are non-negotiable. When AI respects privacy and fairness, it doesn't just protect people, it builds a digital future that is equitable, inclusive, and trustworthy.
Well said. Well said. We try to provide some insights from thought leaders like yourself who have built successful companies, and we look for insights that are kind of easy to operationalize, easy to act on. In your career, and I know it's a long and storied career, what one or two insights would you like to share with our viewers today to help them in their role?
Absolutely. No, thank you, David, for prompting me. So my message is very simple. Privacy should be the foundation of trust, and trust is the currency of future. If we want to build a just, innovative, and thriving society, we must treat privacy as a human right and use AI not to exploit but to empower your organization, empower your systems, right? So that is the message I want to pass on to our audience.
Thanks for sharing that, Damodar. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. I hope to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you, David.